What's going on, people? Welcome to the Morning View. Good morning. How you guys doing, man? Talk to us. Let us know how you are, where you are, what time of the morning it is, what the weather's like. Check in, man. Check in. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And welcome to the Morning View. A lot to get through this morning. Qatar won't make another takeover bid in light of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's attempt to get Manchester United. People sort of saying that. Hopefully, it means that Qatar are going to make a new bid. There's rumors and reports saying that they're comfortable where they are. So we're going to talk about that. Sancho exit. Apparently, he wants this Dortmund transfer. There's a lot of teams in the Bundesliga that are looking at him that want to have a word with him. They want to do what the KG situation is, where you just pick up the phone or you message with the eyes emoji. Are you awake? Are you awake, Jadon?
You say that. I still, when we do these morning shows, when we get to like 10 minutes to, I still wonder sometimes. I go, are we going to get a call from KG at some point? I mean, people sometimes think there's a big production meeting that goes on. Sometimes it'll be 5 minutes before. I can jump on if you want, guys. And then he'll show up. You never know. That can still happen this morning.
He is capable. He is capable of just doing weird stuff like that, random stuff. But yeah, so those are the main two talking points today and everything else in between. So get your morning coffee, your tea, your hot chocolate, whatever it is that you do or have in the morning, get it ready and stay locked in for the next hour. Like I said, we big congratulations to everybody yesterday helping us hit 155k in the community. We're 17 over that right now as well, so big up to you. Road to 200, man, that's what we're on right now. We only got to 150k not long ago as well, so to get to 155k within a short space of time shows that the train's rolling and you guys are all locking in and sharing the love and sharing the channel with other people, and all you guys that are new have just come to the channel, welcome. Trust me, you're going to be in for an amazing here on United View. I'll tell you that. But Owen, let's get straight into it, man. The takeover update, because obviously we did an exclusive with David Hellier. What was that? 2 weeks ago? Or was that last week? I forget.
Gosh, it all blurs into one, doesn't it? I believe that might have been last week. Maybe.
Was it early last week? Maybe it was early last week.
I think it might have been early. Yes, it was, because it was on the same day as a game. I think it was. Right. Yes, it was. Yeah. It was Crystal Palace at Old Trafford.
Right.
Yes,
there you go. So there you go. We did an exclusive with David Hellier. He gave us a bit of a background story to the news that was coming out from Bloomberg about, essentially Jim Ratcliffe's deal not being dead in the water anymore because he changed what it looked like. And that later then come out a few days later that it was looking to be a minority shareholder, 25%, etc., etc. With just him trying to find ways to get in to the club, basically, and get a foothold to win. And then that was in that conversation with David Hellier and I, we were talking about what does that mean for Qatar? Will they respond? And, he was sort of saying, interesting to see. Let's wait and see. And now the latest reports are sort of suggesting that they're not being scared off by this latest attempt from Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, actually, because like you mentioned, one of the sort of discussion points with David Hellier was, one, how will Qatar respond? And also, how will Qatar view the latest developments? Because some perceived it as still, well, Jim Ratcliffe probably still might not win, despite his attempts at restructuring things and despite his attempts at maybe, offering a minority stake initially with a view to buy him out over a long period of time. Will the Glazers even go for a long-term buyout? Are they even interested in a long-term buyout, or do they just want cash and then they're just going to have Ineos there? They've got the money, and is United still going to be essentially frozen to where they are? And is it just once more a ploy to get more money out of Qatar? That was kind of the thought process there. And according to the Times, from Matt Lawton and also from Matt Dickinson, the Qatari group bidding for Manchester United will not increase their existing offer of £5 billion, despite the threat posed by a new deal being tabled by Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Sources close to the Qatari group say that the news of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's restructured bid amounts to another pressure tactic designed to make them increase their own bid. The Qataris remain convinced that the £6 billion price tag for Manchester United is too high and are standing by the offer of £5 billion for 100% purchase. 100%. Not least because Eric Ten Hag's side are misfiring on the pitch. The debt stands around £1 billion. And the Old Trafford Stadium and training ground remain in dire need of modernisation. So essentially, what Qatar are viewing it as going, bullshit. We don't believe all this kind of stuff. Once again,
Carl Pilkington, mate.
yeah, once again, and you can see why, because they would say, well, remember, there are 3 rounds of bids. They're on bid number, was it 5 or 6 at this point?
5,
and
yeah.
every single time they've increased their bid post a sort of 3rd round of bidding, it's been based on, hey, Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, they're leading the way. They're going to win. I remember one of the times it was Ineos are going to win. And then like a couple of days later, it was a new bid's gone in from Sheikh Jassim. And they did say the last time they put that bid in, they said, right, it's £5 billion. We think this is massively overpriced, by the way. We're not even really happy. We're giving you £5 billion for 100%. Bear in mind, it's £5 billion to you, but it's not £5 billion all in. It's actually over £6 billion all in, because we're committing to £5 billion to the Glazers and then £1 billion for the stadium, training ground, everything else. So it's over £6 billion. And they're kind of viewing this latest development from Ineos as, you just want to squeeze more money out of us, because they believe they're the only actual, real, feasible offer on the table when they look at all of the situation going on at United. They look at, the Glazership. The Glazership, that's a good word.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's good
the
term.
Glazership.
Good term. Yeah.
That was merging me to get two together. The Glazership going on at the United as well, with all of the 6 siblings as well, with some not wanting to stay, 2 in Joel and Avram wanting to stay, and sort of the game of succession that's going on between all of them. I think they're kind of like, no, we're still, our offer is still what it is, and because we think that's fair. Well, we don't even think it's fair. We think it's taking the piss a bit, but we're not moving around and we're not going to fall for it again. But who do you think wins that game of bluff then, when it comes to that? And essentially, do you think Sheikh Jassim blinks in the end?
No, I think they stay with where they're at. I do. I think they stay where they're at. I don't know if they'll win. I don't know if anyone will win, because it's just the Glazers, and this is what I meant about the whole time of them. They will just sit and sit and sit and just try every single tactic, every single form of delay. They're in no rush. They're in no rush to get this done. Team hasn't started well. The roof was leaking again. They're in. These things aren't going to spark them into shit. We better sell now, because that theory of like, you're never going to get this money again for United. They will. Like these type of figures, it might only go to a maximum of this same 5 bit, but around this ballpark. It's not that they're not going to be like, "Nah, you should have just took that now because now it's only worth 2 billion." That's not going to happen at Man United. It's not. We've been shit for over 10 years now. And look at the state of the football club. Gary Neville saying it's a graveyard. It is. It literally is a graveyard for players, coaches, training ground, stadium, everything in that Man United is right now. It just gets worse. And it's horrible to say it, but it's the truth. Our club is rotten from the top right through to the bottom, right? So, but it's still commanding the price that it's got now on the market because it's Man United. And for the foreseeable future, i.e. the next year, the next 2 years, the Glazers can just sit in this position and try to just do whatever it is, which has basically been do nothing, actually. Okay, let's sit. Don't do anything. Don't make any decisions. Yeah, it's leaked out that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is in the race. It's leaked out that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to win. It's October now, so this happened in November, didn't it? The World Cup. It's nearly a year and nobody's won. So clearly, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not winning. And he's changed his bid about 500 times. So that whole notion of like, but if you don't do this, Qatar, then Jim Ratcliffe will win. No, he won't. No, he won't. Just stay where you are. And his bid as well for 25% is worse. Like
that's what I mean.
He's making less.
I didn't really speak about that last week, or whenever it was. Was it this week? And because you and KG did the Flex and KG show talking about it, and when I saw it and the news about the 25%, I laughed because I went, "Are you really desperate to win so much that you're not going to win?" You know what I mean? Because that's what we're talking about here.
To try, I'll do anything.
Because I was thinking, like, if you propose that to the Glazers, I'll get 25%, and again, it's part of the Glazers' majority, but also part of the minority stakes as well, minority shareholders rather as well. So you're appeasing both sides, and you're also appeasing the side that was going to block you winning in the first place, because of course that was the threat of litigation, was from those minority shareholders. They were saying, we don't feel like we're benefiting out of this. We're not getting value for money for some of our shares. We're not making money. So if this happens, we feel like there's precedent in the Cayman Islands. We've seen it up. We'll sue you. We'll sue the Glazers. We'll sue Man United. We'll tie all of this up in litigation, and nothing will happen for years. And then those independent board of directors went, oh my God, okay, well, if we do get that offer then from Ineos, we're going to say no. And then Sir Jim Ratcliffe went, I've got to figure this out then. Okay, how about I get a minority stake in United, and I take some of the Glazers and I take some of the minority shareholders. And they go, well, okay, because we'll make money then. We'll take that. But then the problem is with that, if he did take 25%, is it doesn't really suit anyone. It doesn't help anyone. Because, okay, right, you give, was it something like 1.5 billion to the Glazers? Right, they're happy. And maybe that buys out 4 of the Glazer siblings. And suddenly it's only Joel and Avram left. Man United is still in exactly the same position at that point. When it comes to that money, are we assuming, people assume that 1.5 billion would go back into the club? Who's to say that it would? Who's to say that it would? The debt would still be there. What? Oh, yeah, we're going to definitely put all of that money into the debt that's already there. Are they? Really? Do you believe them? Not. Is it going to fix the stadium? No. And is there any guarantee, I want to get them, buy them out fully in 2026? Is there any guarantee that's going to happen? Unless you've got it in writing, on
and at
paper,
what cost, Owen?
That's going to happen. Yeah.
At what cost? Because if he has to do that, right, and by 2026 he wants the Glazers out, right? Okay, is that at the expense of basically having 3 years with not investing into the team properly? Because the whole point of doing this change, this takeover, right, or completing this takeover, is to improve things. What we don't want is somebody to have to come in. They don't have that much money, so already the leeches have to stay, extracting more at the detriment of the team, because he's so focused on having to secure new investment, right, from outside and other minority shareholders to come and help him to get the Glazers out by 2026. What does the stadium look like then? What does the training ground look like then? What does this playing squad look like then? What happens if, God forbid, Ten Hag gets sacked and now he needs a big package to pay him off, or different players need selling and we can't get rid of the same thing. It's the same shit. It's the same thing. So Marcus, just quickly. So Marcus says, let's get these two super chats out. Says, after 36 hours flight and 6 months of being deployed, I'm finally back home. Sir Marcus, I'm guessing you're in the military. Wow,
yeah, sounds like it.
36 hours. Where did you go, bro? Where would you? I mean, maybe you can't talk about where you was deployed to. I don't know, sensitive information. But if you would share that, I just find it fascinating. Where was you? That was 36 hours away. Wow, that's insane. Big up to you, Sir Marcus, bro. And Sanjeet says, Flex is right. Glazer's sitting there saying we don't care if we are successful, as we are a cash cow. Look, we still got 1 billion in new sponsorship deals. Exactly. And the team shit.
Yeah. And I mean, you said at what cost? And I was meaning more in terms of they'd have to agree. If they were going to have a buyout and that was going to be complete in 2026, they'd have to have all of that written down. Like, okay, this year we'll buy this amount of shares for this amount of money. And if the Glazers are sitting around at the moment not accepting certain offers on the table because they believe in 2 or 3 years' time they can get more money, then that would suggest that maybe if he's going to buy them out in 2026, it would have to be a total package more than £6 billion, which is what they're currently looking for. Because from their point of view, their shares would be worth more in 4 years' time, 5 years' time than they are right now. So I don't know. I saw that and went, I don't know how really that one's going to work, to be honest with you. And when I do read what the Times are writing, I agree with them if that is true from sort of the Qatari sentiment that, you're just trying to force more money out of us because you've done that 2 or 3 times. And actually, it's worked 2 or 3 times. We've been working with you 2 or 3 times. Because when I remember, again, it was around the time that third bid was in and it went quiet for a little bit. And then it was Jim Ratcliffe's the front runner. He's going to win because he values Manchester United at £6 billion. He's not offering £6 billion, but he values it at £6 billion. And that's what they're offering for the 69% that the Glazers have. And that was right. He's going to win. I remember me and you chatting, going, he's going to win. Everyone's saying he's going to win. And then wouldn't you know it, another bid from Qatar comes out, goes quiet again. He's still in the race. He's still not really close to what, Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are offering. Suddenly, another Qatar bid comes out. And then the last one was like, this is it. It's 5 billion. And by the way, if you don't get back to us or you don't accept it, we're not involved in this process anymore. But it's on the table. 5 billion's on the table. It's always on the table. But that's it. We're not getting involved anymore. And because of that, and then it's gone really quiet for a really long time. And like David Hellier was saying, it's because, well, one, Jim Ratcliffe's bid was dead. Now it might be back to life a little bit. But also, it's gone really quiet because it's still not the amount of money that the Glazers are looking for. But Qatar are like, we're not paying anymore. So you've got this impasse of someone that's like, it's not enough. And that someone is going, but we're not giving you any more. And then they're so, both of them, so stubborn that you've just got this complete standstill. Meanwhile, while this weird jockeying for positions going on, as you mentioned, we're shit on the pitch. The stadium literally is falling apart. You've got tickets for opposition fans dotted all over the stadium on Tuesday too. It's all just chaos. It's all chaos. But to them, that's like below them because they're operating at a higher level. It's football executive level. And it's so out of touch with reality of what's actually happening at the football club, isn't it? And when you do read the articles, you do sort of say, well, I guess then we're not going to get a resolution for ages because they're still massively apart on it. And that's annoying.
The facts, that is it. And you know what I was thinking the other day, yeah? Like I was looking at Newcastle against PSG, yeah? And just Newcastle in general. And you look at like how the new owners have come in, yeah, and just the feel of the football club that is there and how the fans are lining the streets and they're all excited. Now, you have to be careful how you compare because what they're not their ceiling because they got a new ceiling.
That they're playing a Qatari club as well. You've got two perfect examples, don't you? You've got one, like I said, it's been taken over in Newcastle, and you go, oh, look at, and make no mistake, people. I think it gets a bit lost on people because they go, yeah, but you had Dan Burn score and you had Longstaff score, and so it's not about the money. And you go, it's about the money in that instance.
Yeah, I'm not talking
300+ million. But then you've got Qatar at PSG, and that's a project that really has not worked at the moment as well, which is worth pointing out.
Exactly. So it can go wrong, but what my point is that you can't just because, like I'm saying, our ceiling isn't Flex. What you're saying is you'd just be happy to win a Champions League game and line the streets and celebrate like Newcastle did. No, but they are going on a journey where they can see the investment, they can see the willingness to turn the club around, and they're all united in that. And look at the feeling that it's brought by having new owners, mate. If we just even got rid of the Glazers as a start, like they were just gone, there probably would be street parties. Like there probably would be massive marches in and around Old Trafford. And that would just be at the start without a penny being spent on reinvestment yet. Just the fact that they're gone, everyone would just take a massive breath and be like, wow, I just never thought I would see that at the start. And if it was Qatar, and I am painting the perfect picture here because I know there's an equal to or greater than on the other side where someone could say, like you just said, Owen, look at PSG. I get it. I'm not saying we have to, be spending 250 million per player each time and try and turn into the Galactic. I'm not saying that. Man United doesn't need that. But I just look at it and just think, I'm jealous. I'm jealous looking at Matty Renton every week. Gassed, happy. Like, obviously, they're coming from Mike Ashley, which that is their version of the Glazers. That's their version of it. They couldn't get him out. He wouldn't sell. Greedy, mediocrity, relegations, just getting it wrong. Didn't want to sell the club. Changed it to sport, wanted to change the whole bloody name to Sports Direct Arena, rip their soul away. All those kinds of things. And I just remember when that takeover was happening, how happy those fans were. And within 18 months of that ownership, because that's what it is now, in about 18 months, going on 2 years. It's not even 2 years yet, is it?
Close to 2, yeah.
Close to 2 years. Within 2 years, look at them. They got genuine belief that they can achieve great things. And they haven't even got over the bit yet of, you know, the FFP thing of like, you know, getting the Champions League once, you know, stay in the Champions League. So you're making this type of money. Right. Once you stabilize yourself in the Champions League for about 2 or 3 years, you can start spending, you know what I mean, £100 million per player and having a bigger budget to spend. They ain't even got to that stage yet. And I just look at them in envy. And I know you could say, Flex, careful what you wish for. Their thing could just go down all of a sudden. I understand that. I'm not saying it's a guaranteed certainty, but that initial feeling of euphoria, I just wish we could have it. I wish we could have it. I don't know how you guys feel in the chat. I wish we could have
Yeah,
it.
I think what you're touching on it's just that sort of synergy, isn't it? It's just that synergy of everyone being on the same page, everyone being
Yeah.
fairly, you know, because to be honest, any ownership, because I'm sure there are Newcastle fans that were vehemently against the Saudi ownership for
Yeah.
justifiable reasons. I mean, like we saw, there was a thing in the international break, wasn't there, about the Saudi team going playing at St James's Park or something like that, and there were protests
Yeah.
outside of it. So I don't know if any fan base is going to be 100% on the side of whatever ownership, but it just, in terms of an operation, in terms of how the club operates, whether it be, you know, with Ineos, whether it be with Qatar, just that whole thing of we're trying to do things the right way. We're trying to operate that like a club that wants to win things. There isn't all of this drama, you know, at an executive level. There isn't all of these sort of bottlenecks at an executive level. We are trying to get the best in class in terms of the people that run the club. We are trying to invest in the stadium. We're trying to be like we used to be. You know, we're not basically accepting mediocrity, you know, for a lot of things. And there are plans. There are plans moving forward to try and improve. You know, you can get excited. Like you look at Man City, you go, look, they're looking at, okay, on this date, our stadium is going to get expanded, and we're doing this outside of the arena. We're doing this in indoor arena. We're doing this with a training ground, and by 2026, this is going to happen. Or even like Liverpool, I know they had the trouble with their stadium recently, but we're going to expand this. This thing's going to get bigger, and you know, this new training ground is going to happen. It's like stuff like that. United can't get excited by that because it just doesn't happen. It's just like, well, you know, the money or the debt. Or every time those the Q1, 2, 3, or 4 comes out and they go, the United's debt has risen to this, or the United debt, and you go, fuck hell. And all of it, you know, it's difficult it grinds you down, really, what it does, isn't it? Every single time something like that comes out, it grinds you down. And then when things aren't going well on the pitch, you know, that just adds on top of it, doesn't it? Because you go, we're just a mess. We're just a mess. And it can't. And look, I'm not saying that, you know, it's all on this, but like, for instance, if you're Eric Ten Hag and you have no idea that it's chaos above you at United, who's going to own the club? I don't know. When's that going to get resolved? I don't know. He met Sir Jim Ratcliffe when he was being shown around Carrington. He's like, yeah, I shook his hand. Who's he? He might buy the club. We don't know. How much? I don't know. When's that going to get resolved? I don't know. What's our potential spending power? Oh, we could spend a lot on players. We could. Are we? No, we can't. Why? We're not very good at selling players, and we've spent a lot of money over the years, and actually we've got a lot of debts. And you go, is that going to get fixed? I don't know. You know, all that kind of stuff. That can't help. That can't. And this is one of the biggest clubs in the world. And everyone laughs at how we operate on various levels. And ultimately, the buck stops with the ownership because they don't care. Like, they don't care about anything like that.
No, because if they did care, you know, it's their job to obviously rectify the people who carry out their day-to-day operations. If you're a good owner, if you own a hotel, if you own a restaurant, if you own a flipping car wash, if you own a garage that does mechanics, whatever it is, if you're the owner of whatever business it is, it's your job, if you care about your business, by the way, and how successful it is, which in turn will make you profit as well. It's your job to sort of weed out the things that aren't working correctly within the mechanics of your organizations. If your HR department isn't good and, you know, employees keep complaining and there's a lot of problems, then you have to go in there. You have to get to the root of the problem. What's going on? Who's complaining? Why is they complaining? If people aren't adhering to the standards, you know, down to employee level, people turning up late, your manager or whatever, or your director or whatever, one of the people on the floor who sort out everything underneath you, come to you and say, there's a real big problem with, you know, lateness, or people, the way they conduct themselves, or the skills. Okay, so let's look at recruitment, right? You know, what's going on with the job specs? Are we not matching the job specs to people's skills that they do have? Can we have a test that they have to pass before they can work here. Look, what's their credentials? We're not doing due diligence. Let's change that process. If it's down to ticketing, look 10,000 Galatasaray fans got in. How's that happened? We've just changed our ticketing system to hardly where it's on the phone, and we've got a whole new online system. There's problems there. What's going on? Like, that's your job. Transfers, we can't sell players. Why? All right, why is that happening? John Murtough getting in now. What's going on? Right. So you're telling me that the problem is we've got too many players on too high contracts, on too much money. All right. So when we sign players now, let's make sure that X is done or Y is done. In fact, let's bring in a guy. Your sole job is to number crunch the stuff on the, to look at the trajectory of this player, where they're going to be in 4 years. What's the benefit of putting him on this much money now? If we put him on too high a money and he does well, how can we go? Like, think.
Yeah, we've got a recruitment department that offers suggestions to the manager, and the manager goes, "I'm not listening to you because you're rubbish. Your track record is rubbish when it comes to recruitment." So I'm going to do. You know what I mean? It's like I said, there's no
Jadon Sancho. And I know we say we didn't care, right? But because it's not our jobs, so we're fans and we say emotional stuff. So I get that. So someone will say, "Oh, you all wanted him." I get that. But if you think about it, he came in on 350 grand a week. Yeah. It's like, if you think about it, it can only be bad, because it's like, if he flops and fails, which looks like what's happened, this is what we're left with. But if he does well, and the first thing you gave him was 350 grand, what's the new contract going to look like?
Yeah. Where do we go from here?
Where do you go from that? Then you've got a player who's...
Everybody's young as well. He's like 20. How old is he? He's like 22, 23.
Yeah, we got him and he was like 21. So it's like, or maybe even 20. So you got this player who, after 3 years of maybe doing really well, was on 350k. Then he's going to end up being on like Ronaldo, Messi money, Mbappe money. Like within 3 years or within 18 months of doing well.
Starting block. That's just starting.
That's your starting block. Like, you're setting yourself up to fail. And again, when it happened, I wasn't waving a flag saying, "What are we doing on?" I'm learning this. I'm saying this to myself as like an eye opener. I'm like, that just proves
you don't negotiate football contracts.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's the same. Crazy. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's crazy. And then this is why I push back on, when we have this discussion about like money and transfers and wages, and you get those people that go, "Why you care? It's not your money." And you go, "Well, you'll care when we can't sell the player, or you'll care when we can't bring in another player because of this amount of money, or you'll care when FFP means we can't negotiate someone else's contract, whatever." That's why the conversation about money and contracts are always really valid, because we saw it this past summer. I'm going, "Well, we can't really get rid of Maguire. Why? Well, he wants a load of money. Why does he want a load of money? Because we gave him a massive contract for a really long time."
Yeah.
And so and then suddenly we care. So it's always worth caring about when it comes in. They say they're on this amount of money, because then you go, "Oh shit!" If that doesn't go right in the future, that might come back to bite us. And historically, it has. I mean, that's why when you get the opposition fans will come at you and they'll say about Ten Hag and other managers will go, "See, money's been spent and all this kind of stuff. Well, why are you getting so?" If you look at this net spend, Man United are always top of that list, so don't complain too much. And you go, "Yeah, our net spend, yeah, we are at the top. Those tables don't lie, but we haven't spent the most money out of people during that period of time. The reason our net spend is so high is because we haven't really sold anyone for actual money. So our net spend is always the highest because we can't do it. We're like bottom or nearly at the bottom of the league when it comes to actually selling players. The fact that you can sell Dan James for like 25 millions, and it's like one of our most expensive sales ever. It's crazy. I mean, obviously there are people above him, but that's nuts that he's even in that like top 10 list. Dan James, it's crazy.
It's pathetic, man. We've got a couple of comments here and a new member, actually. Sanjay, I know we read that one. Big up to Sting. You are the latest member of the new member. It's Sting.
The actual
it's the real
Sting. It's Sting. Look at it.
Look at the face paint,
it's
everything.
Sting.
Big up, Sting. Hopefully
Sting.
that is the real Sting. Owen with his wrestling, mate. If you bring in wrestling to anything, mate, that is Owen gone clear, mate.
Sting. He's still wrestling today. He's in his mid-60s, Flex. And he is a madman. And do you know what's crazy?
Can he still like?
Yes, he only does tag team matches now because he can't do singles matches anymore.
But
I'm telling you, honestly, Flex, there's something wrong with him, because as he's got older, he started doing crazy stuff. In his last, he's been now with AEW for nearly 3 years, actually. But in the last 2 years, basically what he does now in these matches is dive off things. So he dives off balconies, he dives off ladders. I swear to God, I don't know how he's not crumbled into dust with some of the things that he does at this point. It's crazy. He shouldn't be doing it. He did one earlier this year. He was on a ladder inside the ring and jumped out onto a table on the outside of the ring. He's someone's granddad.
He's nearly at retirement age in the UK.
And he definitely should be wrestling. I mean, literally, a ring is that hard, no joke. And he's diving off a ladder through a table. And he had to retire a decade ago because he had a bad neck. No, he's diving off shit.
Came back.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Big up Sting. Maybe that is why the person with that account has paid tribute to him.
Sting!
Yes, it's an absolute legend. I mean, I remember Sting from just WCW days, to be honest. Wicked. Steve Runs says Brighton and Man City are examples of clubs where the owners, down to the board and the manager, everyone works towards one vision. We need that. Yeah, and just to finish off on the ownership thing, that is why it's so important, because if they came in, it just needs a whole new structure, whole new football people. You literally clear out everything apart from maybe the media operations guys who they're doing their job fine, or, might bring in new chefs as well to add to what's there or whatever. I'm not saying everyone should lose their jobs, but the people who handle the football operations side of things, clearly have not done a good job. No. So you need a massive restructure there. On to the next. I'll just actually quickly, before we do that, Daniel Luciano comes through with a super chat, says, "Hey guys, I accidentally didn't set my alarm. So if you could just restart the whole show now, big deal. But big up the community and Flex and Owen." Well, we don't have to do that. You can
let's do it. Let's play the intro once again, Flex. Here we go. I'm not going to do it. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I think some people actually said the intro didn't play at the start. I'm not sure what happened.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can literally just rewind, bro, and you will see everything. We can't start the show again, unfortunately. Jadon Sancho wants to move.
Yes. Dortmund move. Now, this is quite an interesting one. I mean, a lot's been coming out about this in the last few days, it must be said. The report that came out yesterday came from 90 Minute Football, saying that Jadon Sancho wanted to rejoin Borussia Dortmund in January. His relationship with Erik ten Hag is considered to be beyond repair at this point. It must be said it's not just 90 minutes, although shout out to those guys. Florian Plettenberg, or as Flex would like to call him, Florentine Plettenberg.
Get it right.
Said that Jadon Sancho is in regular contact with Borussia Dortmund manager Edin Terzic. Pronunciation is probably lacking there, Flex, I think. Sancho is aiming to leave Manchester United in January. So by all accounts, he's regularly in contact with Dortmund and is looking towards a January move. Most likely that January move would probably be a loan because, as you mentioned, Flex, Borussia Dortmund, they cannot afford Jadon Sancho's contract or even half of it, because what's he on? Is it 350 he's on? I think it's 350. So it would be a loan unless, I don't know.
We're in trouble. We're in big trouble, man, because like you said, he's on that type of money, so nobody can really afford that. Only Real Madrid and, maybe PSG or something. But places where he ain't going to go can afford that, yeah?
Yeah.
Chelsea could afford that, to be fair.
Yeah.
But even then, they would ask for a reduction. I don't think they'd bring him in on 350k a week. But they can afford to buy him out the contract or
25 years. 25 years.
Exactly. There's only a handful of clubs who could afford it, right? Or would be stupid enough to pay it. So a permanent in January, this notion of we can get Jadon out in January because it's all fallen to crap and you can't keep him, and we can sell him and maybe reinvest 50 million in the squad. Ain't gonna happen. No one's gonna buy Jadon Sancho in January for 50 million on that contract. In my opinion, I'll be stunned. I'll be stunned if that happened.
What if he wants away so badly he forgoes it? I don't care.
Oh, then that's different. That's the only way. If they say if you want a permanent sale, Jadon, you have to waive whatever. But then it will get really interesting to see how bad he wants to get out then if he has to turn away from whatever money's paid out. And the way that transfers sometimes work is obviously the money the budget that is for that transfer I saw Troy Deeney talking about it. Troy Deeney's, big up Troy. He's been saying loads of stuff on the podcast recently as well. Some really interesting stuff. Big up Troy.
Better than
And
Harry Kane.
yeah, big up Troy. He is. So you're telling me, I mean, you got to watch the whole thing. He doesn't actually say that, but you know what I mean? But the way the internet's going into meltdown and not actually listening to what the guy's saying. But anyway, that's a different story. Troy was like, basically, when Leicester wanted him from Watford to play up front with Jamie Vardy, he's basically saying Leicester's budget for the transfer was 30 million, like inclusive of everything. How that's distributed between the club, you know, if they have to spend 25 on you, it means there's only 5 million left to kind of do your wages and do this and do that,
agent fees,
you know, agent fees and all these kind of things. And then Watford made him an offer where he was like, listen, mum, go buy what you want. Like it was that.
Yeah.
So, and I respect that. That's, you know, it's a short career. So, you know, if Jadon Sancho, if Dortmund only have a package worth, they go, oh, we can only spend 45 million on Jadon Sancho with everything. So that's like 30 million transfer fee or 35 million transfer fee or 32 million transfer fee, whatever it is, I don't know. And then the rest of it, the 8 million left or the 6 million left is what we have to do for his wages and his add-ons and just all the other stuff, agent fees. So it does depend what it is, but I think it's very unlikely that Jadon leaves on a permanent, especially because we need a quick fix as well, because it's just counterproductive. What can we do? It's not doing anything. It's not helping anyone. They need him out is what's going to happen. So it's going to be a loan. And then hopefully there's an obligation to buy so that, you know, because let's face it, once he goes on that loan, he's never going to go back and then come back and say sorry for the thing he did, just gone all them months later and then play for Man United again. Once he goes on loan, that's it. It's over. So I don't see that being a permanent in January at all. And I do see him going back there, to be honest. I think he needs to.
Do you think he's kind of romanticized the idea of going back to where it was working, sort of thing?
Yeah.
It's not worked out, you know, for me here in Manchester and at United, I need to go back to there. But the problem is, one, they always say you should never go back. That's one thing. And two, if he goes back there thinking it was like before, Borussia Dortmund's changed a bit. You know, players have gone. It's not the days of Haaland and Jude Bellingham. Or unless he thinks it's just, wow, there'll be people within the club side of things that are still there, you know.
Go back to being the man again, though. They don't have Erling Haalands and Jude Bellinghams and that. Jadon Sancho will be like, yeah, you got Adeyemi and things like that.
What if he goes there, though? What if he goes there and it's just kind of more of the same from him? When it's just like, you know.
And his career's ruined at the moment. It's as simple as that. If he goes there, makes no impact, is rubbish, or falls out with someone again or something, then unfortunately for Jadon, which I never want to see, his career will start to take a bad pattern. I like Jadon Sancho. I think this is proper crap. This is like Jadon this weren't supposed to be it, bro. Like the fact that I'm even so comfortable saying like, yeah, he's gonna go in January is probably best, and it feels crap. I never wanted this to happen. None of us did.
But this is what I don't understand, though, with the Dortmund thing too. So all of those reports came out saying, you know, whether the disciplinary issues or the professionalism issues, the lateness issues, whatever. They said, well, this isn't a new thing at United. These issues were there at Dortmund. You know, like infamously, the assistant manager, who later became the interim manager, had to pick him up for team meetings, knock on his hotel door or whatever, and say, hey, team meeting, let's go. I'm taking you to the meeting. And I was thinking, well, if you knew that you were having those issues when he was there, are you willing to bring someone back into the fold that you know is still having those issues? If not, maybe they've got worse as well at the same time. Or is he so good and you've seen what he's capable of that you go, well, it's worth the risk. We'll bring him in. It hasn't worked out. Maybe from their point of view too, they're looking at the money going, we definitely can't afford that, but the situation's so bad, we can maybe negotiate a bit. We can get ourselves actually a pretty decent deal, perhaps. Because in all due respect, Jadon Sancho's next move shouldn't really be, when he was planning out his career, I don't think he thought his next move after United was, one, going to be this quick, and two, was to go back where he came from as well.
Exactly, of course not. So that means he has to take a step backwards. Let's be honest. He has to take a step backwards to start enjoying his football. Jadon Sancho needs to reignite his career right now.
But also, United shouldn't get sort of taken the mick out of just because it's a bad situation, just because they're desperate for him to go. It shouldn't mean that they should be like, oh, we're just not going to get ourselves a good deal. Because in reality, as you mentioned,
it's an asset.
It was an asset. And you could say, look, our season ain't going too well at the moment, but this guy hasn't been involved for months now. So if we get him off the books and we get good money for him, we can do something in January. We can bring a player
Yeah,
in. And we've seen in
yeah,
recent seasons with other clubs, that can make a massive difference to the remainder of your
yeah.
season. If
Look,
you get
if you
the
can
right
sell him,
player, in, that could be massive.
if you can sell him, great. If we can sell Jadon Sancho, because we've all agreed that it's, have we all agreed that in the comments? Everyone, have we all agreed that there's no way back? And also, Jadon Sancho probably doesn't want there to be a way back, and probably neither does Ten Hag. It's just all come to an end. Have we all agreed on that? In
I'll put a
my
poll in
in
the
my
chat.
opinion, yeah, there's a poll in the chat. In my opinion, I've come to that conclusion that it is untenable. I don't see how Jadon Sancho can come back. Even if he said sorry and got back, I don't even know what that would look like by this stage. Like, it's too big of a turnaround. So I'm resigned to the fact that he's got to leave in January to get a conclusion to that. Jadon Sancho needs to reignite his career. He is a million trillion miles off being in the England squad. Even Mason Mount's now getting shouts to get back in it as well after a couple of good games for Man United, by the way. And he has been okay. He has been playing quite well, even though we've been losing. He's been playing all right. But I'm just saying, like, there's so many people ahead of Jadon Sancho in that England squad now. Cole Palmer's now gone to Chelsea, doing all right. It's not going to be long before he starts getting a call up. You know
Yeah,
how it works.
it's not
It's
even like
looking very, very peak. He would have to. The only way he can ever get back in that squad, like we're saying, is to go and reset. He has to go back to somewhere like Dortmund, start putting up big numbers that you can't ignore.
Yeah,
It's as
because it's
simple as that.
like it's not even like for Sancho at this point. You're right. It's not even like, oh, if he's playing regularly, he'll get back in because he's Jadon Sancho. It's like, no, you
No.
got to play. You got to play well because, like you
Yeah.
said, the thing is with England, and this is a bit of a sidebar that worries me with Gareth Southgate, but the attacking players that we've got available to us. Oh my God. I mean, you're talking some of
Yeah.
the best in the world, and you're going to have
You
to be
got
playing pretty
Foden, you
well to
got
get ahead of them.
Madison, you got Mount to come back in, you got Grealish, you
Saka,
still got Sterling, you got Saka. Who else you got?
Grealish.
Yeah, I said him. I know Harvey Barnes is injured, but he's getting in now. Now he's gone to Newcastle and looks a bit better. He might be able to do something. Um, Other wingers. Who else?
And it's going
Do
to
you know what
play
I mean?
there. He's not a winger, but you say even people like Ollie Watkins, if you wanted to shoehorn him into a
Just another
squad,
forward,
yeah,
just somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and like I said, Cole Palmer up and coming. You're gonna add, Mason Mount's gonna keep playing better, and he's gonna start getting back in soon. It's only a
yeah.
matter of time. Rightly so, he wasn't in this one. He wasn't.
Rashford
Yeah, he
gets
wasn't in
in.
it. Oh, I forgot about Rashford. Jesus, because he's not playing well for us. I forgot
I
about him.
did
But
think that when I saw
for
it yesterday,
England,
and I saw Rashford in there, I went,
yeah, yeah.
hmm.
But that's another one though. You know what I mean? Look at Rashford in the last international break. I was going, bloody hell, you're
Bowen,
tandy. Get
Jared
this,
Bowen.
Rashy. Jared Bowen. Oh my goodness, easy walks in. Is he in this one? He better be.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jared Bowen. So there's so many players that you're looking at that are like, one, they're better than Sancho right now because they're playing and they're doing bits. Just that, you know. Um, Obviously the overall skill level of each player at their peak, but that's what I mean. Your career is so difficult. The way you're playing, who you're playing for, I mean, what your career's been like the last 18 months and stuff like that. All these things are taken into consideration, apart from some players like Maguire and stuff. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. So yeah, he's my point is he's way off it. And like you said, what does that say for Jadon if he has to go back there? It says that he needs to go back to a comfort zone. He needs to go back to where he's going to be told he's the man, shown he's the man, have ultimate love. And I was just looking at Dortmund's team that played against Milan the other day, and I look at it, and it's like you said, it's a completely different type of setup. Emre Can's still there, Royce is still in number 10, but other than that, you've got Malin left wing, Julian Brand right wing, Fulkrug up front. Don't know much about him. Jadon Sancho could walk into that team and be the
yeah. We
main
played him in
guy.
pre-season, didn't we? We played him in pre-season.
Yeah, exactly. And we lost.
And
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly,
Adeyemi
exactly.
must be injured because I can't see him there.
He's good.
Oh no, he was on the bench. He just come off the bench in that game.
Oh, he's
Maybe come back from
unbelievable.
injury. I don't know. I really like Adeyemi. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when he played us in pre,
Adeyems.
when he played we when we played them in pre-season, he ripped us apart. And we were like, oh
Yeah,
my
he's good,
God.
man.
And
Quick as
before that,
hell.
like you said, he was a flagy signing. He was a flagy
Yeah,
player. Addy Ames. Oh,
yeah,
actually, no, that was an Owen DOF signing actually as well. I was saying pay whatever.
yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Played him in the 10. Yeah.
Yeah, play him in the 10.
And he's
You know what I
brilliant.
mean?
He's brilliant for us as well. Pace,
Yeah.
power, great finish, left foot.
Yeah.
But anyway, Yeah, so he will be able easy to go back there as well. Chelsea fan there says, "I will take Jadon in a heartbeat." I mean, could you see him go to Chelsea, stay in London, go back to London, be close
Oh,
to his
you know
family,
what?
his friends? I could see that.
Possibly, but I do think
Pochettino might get something out of him.
I know Chelsea are obsessed with signing players, and don't get me wrong. Come January, they'll do it again. They'll do it again in terms of spending 200 plus million. But where does Mudryk play? He plays on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah, plays on the left.
And they're just starting now. He scored against Fulham, and you can tell Pochettino's really trying with him, isn't he? He's really, really trying to make something work out of him. And maybe they might think, well, actually, we're starting to get something out of Mudryk a little bit now.
But they might
We
say it's
really
a bit of
want.
both. We've got both of them. We
Yeah,
want
do
we
they
want to be
might?
the best again. We got Mudryk and Sancho for the left. We're getting stacked. We got Cole Palmer and Raheem Sterling for the right. Madueke and man like that don't
Look,
look
I
like they're going
wouldn't
to
be
get in.
shocked
But you know what I mean?
because I'm done trying to predict Chelsea's transfer business. I was mentioning it all the way through the summer. I still don't think, the way that they operate. I know it's because we're not used to it, but I just don't see that as a base for success because they're just so chaotic. They are so, and for all the money they've spent too, and this would be typical Chelsea. They're still spending all this money, over $1 billion since Todd's been in control of the club, blah, blah, blah. Still yet to actually buy that big name striker. I know they got Nkunku when he got injured, but still, it'd be typical of them to go in January. Did you get that striker? No, they signed Sancho
Yeah,
for
yeah,
50,
good,
for 50 million.
good. I do think in the long run, I do
But
think they'll
if
start
they put a bid in,
stabilizing when they get their injuries back. When they start settling down and
Flex.
calming down, winning a
I
couple of
don't know,
games, they
Flex.
will.
I don't know. I don't
They
know. We
will.
said this at the beginning of the season,
Well,
and
they got Burnley.
you almost
No,
convinced
but
me.
they
You almost
will.
told me their run of games, Flex. Yeah, they beat Fulham
Yeah,
away, and that's the game they
yeah,
needed to win. Have you seen their run
yeah.
of
Well,
games from?
they got Burnley next, and then after that, it's a mad
It's
thing for them.
horrible. And again, just the
Yeah,
way that they play, I'm just like defensively. They do have
yeah,
injuries, don't get me wrong, but they're injuries to players that are always injured. It must be pointed out, like Reece James.
yeah, yeah.
I always say
Ben
this too. Like,
Chilwell,
you can't be
same.
surprised when players that constantly get injured again and go, I can't believe it. Well, why not? I used to do the same with Jack Wilshere. I can't believe he got injured again. I can. He gets injured all the time.
Yeah,
It's like
all the
Reece
time. Yeah,
James. Reece James, he always gets injured. Chilwell always gets injured. If they got him in the team, brilliant. But they're not in the team that often because they're always getting hurt.
yeah.
So, but like I said, if they put an offer on the table, 50 million, and they'll pick up his wages, happy to take that money, no problem. Basically, get your mount money back.
Yeah, exactly. Lil Yo-Yo says Sancho has to go, blood. Yeah, he has to go. Chris, been a member for 11 months. Big up to you, Chris says. Eric Ten Hag has a track record of exiling players who don't follow the rules and principles or show unacceptable behaviors. Yeah, he does. He does have a track record of doing that. And I don't think this is gonna change at all. You know what I mean? It is press conference day, Owen.
Yes.
In terms of obviously the team, they'll talk about morale, how you're going to get them going again, what's the mood like, but Sergio Reguilon, in terms of risking him, trying to get him back, do you think there'll be any welcomed additions to the squad where it could only be him? Take the risk.
Take the risk.
Are you taking the risk? What? Because there's 2-week break straight after as well. So even if he does play, he can just do nothing for 2 weeks.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Are you sure?
After watching,
yes or no?
after watching the Amrabat play at left back against Galatasaray on Tuesday, and this isn't a slight against him because the situation is dire at left back. You would just say take the risk, even if you get 45, 50 minutes out of Reguilon, do it, and then you can shift Dallo over there for the remaining 40 minutes of the game and put Lindelof at right back. Just do it. Because I do look at those last 2 goals against Galatasaray. I'm not saying they're Amrabat's fault because a lot happens, but first one gets sucked in massively. Third one, I know we're down to 10 men at that point, but sort of that defensive line wasn't looking really strong. You didn't need the automated offside for that one, Flex. It was quite obvious as to what was going on. So I would risk Reguilon. As for what else Ten Hag will be asked about today at the press conference, what questions will he probably get? He might get a Sancho question because there usually is at least one in there. You'll get the questions about Rashford, I would think. Because you were in the press conference on Monday, and this is what I was quite surprised by, is that before the question at the end about Rashford, we didn't get one. We didn't get one at all. So I think maybe we might get a few more sort of individuals named today. I think maybe there might be a question about a Marcus Rashford. There might be a question about a Bruno Fernandes. There'll certainly be questions about Andre Onana in there too.
It's going to be Onana, isn't it? Have you,
Yeah.
Eric, have you had a chance to speak to Andre? How's he feeling? How's he doing at the minute? That'll probably be Simon Peach.
Yeah.
He'll
Well,
probably
no,
say that.
Peachy's always, team news, Eric. Team news, any returns? We've seen
Yeah,
Colin Mainey back in training, and he'll go a couple of
yeah.
after the international break, perhaps. Sergio Reguilon, he's going to train with the group today, and we'll see tomorrow. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
He trained with the
will
group
say
today.
that.
We'll see, and
Yeah.
that's what it'll probably be.
They're
'Cause
probably asking about
realistically,
Hoyland as well.
yes, they'll
Like, just,
probably ask.
he's done
Yeah.
well and just, looking for his
But I
first Premier
think
League goal as well.
I think they're probably, like I said, there'll be questions about Onana. Definitely, there should be ones about Rashford. I mean, I'd love for him. He wouldn't answer it, but I'd love for someone just to ask. Is Marcus Rashford too big to? Or are there any players that are too big to be dropped onto the bench, sort of thing? Or should maybe, like, because with your question, you were sort of saying in general, weren't you, about senior players?
Oh, we know who I meant.
Yeah, but about putting him on the bench, I would love for someone to sort of say, like, with Marcus Rashford, do you think it's probably best for him to be taken out of the spotlight a little bit and put on the bench? Or, what more does Alejandro Garnacho have to do to start over Marcus Rashford?
Yeah, like just that one there. And he'll say it's not about this. It's not about, he won't throw him under the bus, but exactly. To be honest, any of these questions about Rashford or what does Garnacho have to do to start, he will dodge and not throw the player under the bus. Oh yeah, Anthony straight back in. Tell you that.
He'll start.
They'll say, how's Anthony doing? Because he'll, like I said, and that's why Rashford will stay in, Bruno will stay in, because he wants to get back to what his team was last year, or his starting team. And his starting team is Anthony on the right, Rashford on the left, with Højlund. That was the plan for this season.
Yeah.
With Bruno just behind that, with Mount. That was the plan.
Well, and how he ended against Arsenal, kind of, really, apart from the defensive side of things, that sort of attacking wise, it was really that, wasn't it?
So any chance he can get to go back to something that resembles what the plan was, I think he's going to take. Because that's, in his head, that's in Ten Hag's mind, the reason why we're not doing well is because, I never get to pick my team.
And do you think that maybe he sort of is going to justify selecting Bruno and Rashford by starting Anthony?
Yeah.
He'll go, like, with Anthony back now, Bruno can be in the middle. Rashford, I know it's not been working out, but it'll get better. Do you think that's the way he'll justify?
And he got an assist. Look, I think Ten Hag. Remember, I said that I think he's scared to take on that Rashford thing as well, because also he's taken him off progressively earlier in the games, like we said. You don't do that if you think Marcus Rashford's playing good. By the way, you don't take him off earlier each time. Yeah. If he's our most likely to score, you don't take him off. So obviously, in that moment in the game, once you've given him a chance, he ain't our most likely to score anymore. And that was in a game yesterday, or the other day, on Tuesday, where he did get a really good assist for Højlund. You know what I mean? He was in the right position again to get us a second goal, but screwed it up. So you're seeing him have two big chances to impact the game. One he took with the cross for Højlund. The other he didn't. And you're going, seen enough, 68th minute. Nope. So
yeah, well, and also it's an oversimplification, isn't it? Because yes, he had two big chances and he took one, but he could have and should have had way more than that. Like, they don't go down as sort of missed opportunities, but they're sort of opportunities to turn something into something else. And he just doesn't take that. Like, if I'm a fullback, if I'm a right back, and I know I'm going up against Marcus Rashford, right? Who plays right back for Brentford?
No, Rico Henry's injured. Is it Aya? I think it's
whoever it is. You fancy yourself at the moment, don't you? You go, I'll be all right. If I stand my ground and he tries to take me on, I'm just going to stand there and he'll probably run into me at this point. Or if he tries linking up, as long as my centre back's fairly close, or I've got a midfielder that's going to come back, if I've got a midfielder that's coming back in, they won't be able to play around us because, every time you try to play link up play at the moment, it's easy. Or if I just show him down the line, he's not going to get the ball in. You back yourself at the moment. He's become very one-dimensional in that aspect. And even though, and this is kind of what's wild too, as you mentioned, even though he got an assist against Galatasaray, we still came out of that game going, he was poor again, really poor. So that says a lot. I mean, usually you come out of a game getting an assist, you go, wow, not bad. But the fact that he got an assist,
they're missing a lot of players, like because Rico Henry's injured. wicked left back, fast at it. He's out pretty much the rest of the season. So Hickey's gone to left back, and like I said, this Aya's coming. I don't even know if Aya is actually an out and out right back. I don't know, but they've got a lot of injuries. No spoilers, but the lovely Natalie Sawyer of Talk Sport, and great broadcaster, massive Brentford fan. I've done a preview with her, which will be up very, very soon. So I don't want to spoil the whole lot, but she was talking about that she's dreading it, and they've got a lot of injuries themselves.
She was confident last year, wasn't she? Very
Yeah,
confident.
and
then they won 4-0.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But watch, when you see it this year, it's not quite that. But like I said, it's not a surprise where she's at right now, because they're not playing very well. But yeah, you're right. You're right. If you should be thinking, like I said, I think someone said he's actually a centre back. I thought he was. I don't think he's an out and out.
Is that the same one that used to play
back.
for Celtic? Is that the same one? Oh my god, am I mistaken?
Could be. Let me have a little look. Oh yeah, there you go. Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I was going to say centre back.
Yeah, centre back. So if he's got to play right back, which he probably will, because I don't see how they're going to have many other options. Rico Henry's gone. Hickey's got to go over to left back. Yeah, you have to wait and see what's going to happen. Yeah, Rashford should be very confident against him. And Ten Hag's probably thinking, against these teams at home.
Perfect opportunity.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's got to score. But you do want him to assist or score. If you're not going to play good, give me an assist. And he did do that. Ten Hag, what he wants really is to come out of this period or have one good game, especially in the Premier League, with these guys. With Bruno.
And it's international
Rashford,
break coming
Owen.
up. So he might be like, I tell you what, if I play them and we win, and we, like you said, they've got Aya at right back. I tell you what, Rashford could have a good game against him. And then we've got, was it a week? Or was it 2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks international break? Yeah. Then I got 2 weeks of us actually having a victory. Pressure's not as bad. People are talking about how good form Rashford is. He could go to England in that form. Maybe he might do well. And then he comes back and suddenly, a bit like at the World Cup. Remember, he came back from the World Cup. He was on fire because he was brilliant at the World Cup. Maybe it's that kind of fine margin. But then at the same time, if he plays Rashford against Aya and he has a stinker, everyone's like, man, he can't even be a centre back or right back
at the moment.
I know. And Brentford are rubbish, and we're at home again, And then we've got 2 weeks of ruminating on that.
Yeah, I know. It's the fine margins, isn't it? It's the fine margins of the decisions that you make, and that is the sword or the hill that you die on. You know what I mean? Because you can't, if you get these types of things wrong, if you're an idiot and it's all your fault, you're stubborn. If you get it right, you go, okay, well, he's had one good game, about time, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So against Brentford, I don't know, man. I have no idea what we're going to be like. I could see Brentford. I could see us just being on top, playing all right, bit of adversity, corner, free kick. They score. You know what I mean? And then if they score first, I think we're toast. I think if we score first, I think we'll be all right against a struggling Brentford.
Given the injuries, if they do go 1-0 up, you would think they'll do like the Palace and be like, right, let's sit behind.
That's all they'll do. And we will be effed if that happens. We cannot concede first. If we score first, I think we'll be all right. Because I think they've got a lot of limited options there. And Mbeumo's not firing. Wissa's up front by himself. They haven't got the same kind of firepower. The Ivan Toney miss is huge. Rico Henry's a huge miss.
We played them towards the end of last season, didn't we, at home, I think?
Yeah, we scraped it. That was 1-0, I think.
Yeah. It was one, but that was one of those games where we were like, I don't know about this. And when we did, we went,
exactly. So. But it's always close against them. You can't. Thomas Frank, again, I know that they've got no wins in 5, but these are the things that are stacked up for Man United. No team got no wins in 5. Confidence is a bit rocky. They can't buy a win. They've got injuries. Let's go Old Trafford. Let's go there. Put them under a little bit.
Oh, they'll be feeling it.
I'm saying go for it, man. We're not expected to win this game. People are expecting us to go no wins in 6 with this. You know what I mean? But I tell you what, put it on them. They put it on Arsenal in the second half of that Carabao Cup. Don't know how they didn't score. And that's with that team. So if they play to that level, Arsenal defended well, plus they hit the post. There's a bit of everything mixed in with a bit of good game management from Arsenal to get through it. I know it's at Old Trafford, but if they have a period like that against us, what will we do? How will we respond? And that's what my worry is. Before we get out of here, Lil Yo, we read that one, Chief. Oh no, we've read everything. There you go. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the super chats. If we can get up to 300 likes on the way out, at least we're at 217. That'd be amazing. Let's not be a disgrace and a cheat. We'll be live for the press conference later on today. Me and Owen will be there looking at what Eric
Oh,
Ten Hag
you
has to
joining
do.
me? You joining me in the
I'm
press today?
joining you.
Oh, look
Yeah.
at this. Look
Why
at this.
not? Yeah. I'll let you. Do you know? I'm just going to join as a spectacle. I just want to be part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I will be there as your assistant. However you need, whatever you need me to do, I will do. So we'll be there. Is it when is that, Owen? 1:30? 2?
I haven't checked actually.
Yeah. Well, whenever it is, we'll be there.
Usually it's like 1:30, so probably be live about 2, probably.
There you go. So we'll be live for that, and also, like I said, preview of Natalie Sawyer for the game tomorrow is dropping very, very soon. So take care, guys. We see you again very shortly today. Peace.